Good afternoon, all of you. Let us start discussion on today's topic, authority delegation and decentralization. So, in last lecture, we have seen organization chart, right? We have seen one example also of organization's chart where shareholder, board of director, managing director, production manager. So, like that chart, flow chart we have seen, and that chart is nothing but organization chart. Then we have discussed departmentation concept, and there we discussed its need and importance, why departmentation is essential. Then we discussed five types of departmentation like functional departmentation, geographical, product, process, customer departmentation, right? And with the help of example, we discussed a lot. We have seen its advantage and limitations also. So let us start discussion on authority delegation. So in previous lecture also we have very small discussion on this particular topic. Authority delegation is nothing but giving authority to your subordinate, right? In that way we discussed. But before that, I want to tell once again who is authority. Authority is nothing but person who is having right or obligation, and that right and obligation is from the department, from where that person is getting that right, from his department, right? Or on behalf of his department, that person is getting that authority, right? Once again, I am telling what is the authority delegation. Authority delegation is nothing but giving power or right to your subordinate, right? So that is nothing but authority delegation. In Marathi you can say अधिकार सुपूर्द करणे दुसऱ्याला, right? So that is nothing but authority delegation. So definition of this authority delegation in short, let us see. If the manager requires his subordinate to perform the work, he must entrust him with part of rights and power which he otherwise would have to exercise himself to get the work done. So meaning of this definition is that basically that person, that authority has to do this particular task, but he entrusts that particular right or power to somebody. And who is that somebody? Subordinate, immediate subordinate in his department. To that particular subordinate, he is giving that right or power, and he is getting work done from his subordinates and his employees. Okay, so another part of authority delegation I want to tell, like how many advantages will be there. Many time people think authority delegation is nothing but the uh, passing the responsibility or avoiding the work, but it is not like that, right? It's just getting the work done from subordinates. Okay, so first advantage of authority delegation is that authority delegation relieves manager from heavy work, because manager is having responsibility of whole department and he is heavily loaded. But if he want to relieve, just a minute. I was talking about the authority delegation advantages. First advantage is that manager relieves from heavy work. Second advantage is that it leads to better decision making. So see, one manager cannot decide take decision of every place, or he cannot contribute at every place for decision making. But if he takes help of his subordinates, definitely there are benefits. This is another advantage of authority delegation. Next advantage is that it helps to train subordinate and build up their moral. So if you delegate the authority, then definitely that manager is getting support, as well as his subordinates will get trained, and in future that subordinate may become manager and he can handle whole department, right? So that's why for training subordinates also this authority delegation plays important role. Then it helps in managerial development. So if you want to develop managerial capabilities, so you should give some of the tasks to subordinate, and you get that work done from your subordinate. That manager, that subordinate will develop the competencies, and he may become manager and lead the department. Another benefit is there for decision making. If you want to make speed up the decision, then authority delegation plays very important role. Suppose you have 10 decisions pending, one manager cannot do within one day. So if he has 10 subordinate, he can pass one responsibility to every subordinate. All 10 subordinate will contribute and decision will be finalized. And in this way, in organization, in department, your decisions will be very fast. The next advantage is there, it helps to create organizational structure. It helps to create organizational structure. So we have seen certain block diagrams of organization structure. Next advantage is that accept additional responsibility. So you can ask your subordinate to take additional responsibility, and in this way you can develop future managers also. Then there are certain characteristics of delegation also. First characteristic is that it is necessary for subordinate to act within boundary. First characteristic is that subordinate must be act within boundary. He should not take his own decision. Whatever authority told, same guidelines he has to follow. He should not have his own thought, right? Whatever authority given the guideline, whatever boundaries he has given, he has to follow. For example, authority delegated, like you can purchase 10,000 rupees material, he should not purchase more than that, because only 10,000 permission is given by the authority. Only 10,000 authority is delegated, not more than that. That's why this is a first characteristic, where authority has to act within boundary, not more than that. Second characteristic is there, decisions and for execution of policies, authority is delegated. Why authority is delegated? For decision making and for execution of policy. These are the basic two reasons. That's why authority is delegated. The next advantage is there, it depends, this characteristic is there, it depends upon nature of work and confidence. Whom you can delegate the authority, those people are confident, to them only you can delegate the authority. If person is not confident and if you look like he may fail in this particular task, then authority should not be delegated. That's why confidence of subordinate is very important while delegating the authority. If person is confident, definitely you can delegate the authority. If person is not confident, don't delegate the authority. Then it depends upon the nature of work. Which kind of work is there? Suppose there is a responsibility of taking the order of 1 crore rupees. Let us take example. So what kind of nature is there? Work nature is there? It is a very genuine, right? If subordinate make any mistake, then you may lose the order also. So that's why nature of work is very important while delegating the authority. If genuine work is there, don't delegate it. But if it is not genuine, then you can definitely delegate and get the subordinate. So remember, while delegating the authority, so regular work you can delegate. Don't give genuine work, serious work to any of the subordinate unless you are confident. Then manager does not surrender his authority. Manager does not surrender his authority. When you will say that manager is surrendered authority, when all 100% task is delegated, then you can say manager is surrendered his authority. But don't give all the responsibility, otherwise there is no meaning to that particular manager, right? So if you are delegating the 100% task, then it is totally surrendered manager. He is not having any kind of authority along with him, he just passing the authorities. So that's why remember, you should not delegate 100% authority from your side to your subordinate. Only for regular work or policy implementation you can delegate the task or authority. Then delegating work does not mean avoiding the task. One more time, try to understand. Delegating the task, what is the delegating of the task or work? Giving task to other, responsibility or task or power to others. बट समटाइम पीपल से एखादा मॅनेजर असतो, सगळंच काम आपल्या सबऑर्डिनेटला देतो, स्वतः काहीच करत नाही. So in that case, you can say like that person is avoiding the work. But here, while delegating the authority, a person or that owner should not feel like that this manager is just passing the authority and trying to avoid the work. So again and again, remember, authority delegation is not a avoiding the work. Getting? So it is getting work done from subordinates. The next characteristic of authority delegation is that delegation may be specified or general or implies or written. Many time this authority delegation is happen orally, like you ask your subordinate to ask like at the morning, असं असं करून घे, अशी अशी पार्टी येईल आणि बार्गेनिंग करून ते परचेस करून टाक. जनरल आहे ह्या अशा गोष्टी आणि काही काही वेळेस असं सांगून टाकतात करून घे. सो इट इज ऑल्सो ऑथॉरिटी डिलिगेशन. मेनी टाइम इट इज रिटन from your work also you can send place home also you can send to your subordinate like purchase so and so material in return, and in this way also that authority can be delegated. आणि कधी कधी assistant manager, it is implies like assistant manager has to support manager, right? So it is implies means तो नियमच आहे. जो आपला बॉस सांगेल, मॅनेजर सांगेल सबऑर्डिनेट किंवा जनरल मॅनेजर असिस्टंट मॅनेजरला, त्यांनी ते करायला पाहिजे. गेटिंग? And next characteristic is that authority delegation is a art. It involves the personal skills, right? It is art. सगळीच कामं तुम्हाला ओळखता आलं पाहिजे ना, कुठलं काम कोणाला दिलं पाहिजे, whom to delegate authority. So it is an art like identifying the people, appropriate person for delegation of authority and giving that task to that person by delegating the authority. So it involves personal skills, so it depends on person to person, and if those people are having skills of that, those people can delegate the authority properly. Getting? So these are the characteristics of authority delegation. Now before proceeding to this discussion, I want to ask, like I have generalized given examples like purchasing, asking purchasing to subordinate, giving the authority to purchase. What kind of task can be delegated? Is there any idea in your mind or imagination? You imagine like if you will become manager, then what kind of task you will delegate? So think for 1 minute and put in chat box like, yes sir, purchasing can be delegated. Then what other things can be delegated? I have given the idea. So let us have this activity for 1-2 minutes. What things can be delegated? I hope you understood the meaning of delegation. Now in chat box you have to write करता येऊ शकते इंडस्ट्रीमध्ये. Or imagine like you are the manager in the organization, we have 10 subordinates. What authorities you will delegate to your subordinates? Put in chat box. Take 1 minute and put in chat box. Take 1-2 minutes. Have you understood question what I am telling? Imagine that you are manager, you have 10 subordinates. What activities, task or power you will give to your subordinate, or activities you will ask to your manager to perform? Yes, who is writing? I have given an example of purchasing. You can give your subordinate right to purchase 10,000 rupees necessary things in your production shop. That is, you have delegated that authority. What else can be delegated? Yes, write in one word also, two word, one word. Yes, anybody? Purchasing authority can be delegated. For example, meeting task. Right? Suppose there is a meeting, right? And there is a board of director meeting is there. Manager has to attend. Suppose you are having very emergency discussion with any of the parties. Can you attend meeting? You have to focus on that party, right? So whom you will delegate to attend meeting? Your subordinate. You will ask like, yes, there is a general meeting, so you please attend and communicate me points. That task can be delegated. Anything else? Sachin? प्रेझेंटेशन एक्झॅक्टली सचिन एकदम व्यवस्थित बरोबर तुम्ही मांडलेलं आहे प्रेझेंटेशन राईट नॉट नेसेसरी लाईक मॅनेजर शुड डू दिस ही सबऑर्डिनेट कॅन डू दिस राईट he can delegate like so and so presentation is there, go and present there, right? So it is also possible presentation. Anything else? Anybody? Gauri Gore, can you put in chat box like what function can be delegated? Presentation, meeting, purchasing. Again, Swami Samarth, Rushikesh. No? Think and write in chat box. Actually, I am only talking. I don't see like you people are responding, taking active participation. Final out of final output of all things. I don't understand what you are saying. Like participation, like Sachin has mentioned. So I hope here onwards, listen carefully. If you listen, if you'll understand the concept, definitely you will think, right? So it is very general discussion. Okay. So next point is there authority delegation barriers. There are certain barriers of effective delegation. First thing is that fear of loss of power. Many managers are thinking if I delegate authority, then I may lose all the power. That kind of fear is there in the mind of authority generally, but it is not true, right? You should not. You should try only very small task. You should give very less power, not whole and sole responsibility. Otherwise, you will not have a single power. So all power will go to subordinates only. So that's why this is a very big barrier, and that's why many authorities are having are fear of loss of power. The next barrier is there lack of confidence in subordinates. This is also a big barrier. Subordinates are not confident. This is the problem. They think like my subordinate is not confident. If I delegate the authority, then he may not perform well. Presentation, such in if you give this task to your subordinate, then if that person is confident, then he can make a proper presentation, good presentation, right? And if that is not confident, difficult, right? So this is a very big barrier. If there is a not confident subordinate, then this is a big barrier. Authority delegation becomes very complicated. Fear of being exposed of inefficiency. Many people think like I am not efficient, and that's why many managers are doing authority delegation. They think like I am not a confident person, I am inefficient, like that people manager think in negative way, and that's why they think like management may think, or organization may think about me like I am having very less confidence, or I am inefficient. That's why uh, I am having fear in my mind. That may be the reason, and people try to avoid authority. Getting. Then next task is there difficulty in briefing of task. Difficulty in briefing of task. Many times people are not able to brief the task. This is the problem. Yes, many people think like मला हे दुसऱ्याला काम द्यायला पाहिजे, माझा सबऑर्डिनेट चांगला करेल, पण मला ते कामच सांगता येत नाही. Many times it happens, manager may think like I am not able to brief the task, how I can delegate the authority, and how that my subordinate will complete it. And many times some people think like personality of subordinate, a superior, ती पर्सनॅलिटी कशी त्याच्यावरती ही ते बॅरियर आहे. अँड मेनी टाइम पीपल ट्राय टू अवॉइड डिलिगेटिंग द ऑथॉरिटी, बट इट इज नॉट ट्रू. तुम्ही सगळे डिसिजन तुम्ही एकट्याने घेतले तर बाकीच्या लोकांचा उपयोग काय? सो इट इज अ रॉंग थिंग. Then barriers from subordinate side. While authority delegation, from subordinate side also there is a barrier. For example, fear of criticism. Many people are avoiding to take authority. They think like people may criticize me. That kind of fear is there in their mind. My boss, my senior, right? Many times people say boss is always right. And if there is a mistake, then definitely that authority will try to scold that particular subordinate, and in that case that kind of criticism, they have fear in their mind. So subordinates generally try to avoid taking authority. Then lack of self-confidence. Subordinates are having sometimes less confidence, so authority cannot be delegated in that case. Avoiding the accepting authority. Many times people try to avoid their authorities. This is also barrier. Then spoon feeding. Subordinates are not ready to accept the delegation. You can see many times many employees are like spoon feeding. They need always what to do every time. They need inputs, Always they need guidelines. They are not using their brain, they are not using their skills. They are always taking help from their manager. Whatever manager are telling, they are doing only that task. Always they need spoon feeding, and such a people are not suitable for authority delegation. All right, they are not capable for decision making also. That's why authority cannot be delegated. Those need spoon feeding, right? Then overburdened subordinates. Already subordinates are overburdened, and again you are giving task to them. Again you are delegating authority. So that's why, friends, this is also a barrier from subordinate side. Like already they have huge task, and again you are trying to delegate the authority. So these are the barriers from subordinate side. Then certain guidelines are there for authority delegation. First guideline is there: clearly defines goal. Clearly defined goal, right? If you are delegating the authority, first clearly define the goal, like what can be delegated and what task is expected to get from that subordinate. You are delegating the authority to your subordinate, but first those who are delegating the authority, that person should have clearly mentioned goals, what to get from that particular subordinate. If there is no specific goal, then delegating authority may become a vague issue. Then clearly define the authority. If that person itself is not defined properly, or that manager is not having properly appointed person, in that case also authority delegation will not happen properly. That's why for effective delegation, management should define the authority clearly. Who is subordinate, who is the manager, who is the assistant manager, general manager, assistant general manager. That authority must be first decided, and they should have first power getting, so that they can delegate to other. आपल्याकडेच power नाही तर दुसऱ्याला काय देणार, right? So that's why clearly defined authority is very, very important for authority delegation, and this is the next guideline. Then proper motivation should be given to subordinates before giving the authority. Why? Before giving the or delegating the authority, proper motivation should be given to his subordinates, right? Without, and then you can give authority to that person. Without motivation you should not give, and even you will give, then still that person will not work properly without motivation. The next guideline is there: appropriate working environment. You are delegating authority, but you have to ensure that there is a proper working environment, right? Suppose you delegated authority to purchase 10,000 material, right? You have given power to or authority to somebody. That person should have access of that 10,000, right? He has to pay, or he has to do this process. He should have access of it, right? So such kind of appropriate environment are essential. So this is the another guideline. Then proper training should be given to subordinates. First give them training. Authority is delegated to purchase, or authority is given to do presentation for certain parties, in front of certain parties. Then training must be given to that subordinate correctly, right? How to present, on which point stress must be given, what is the important points from this presentation, how to convince that particular person, those who are listening, right? Or how to answer certain questions when another person is asking during presentation, right? So such kind of training must be given before authority delegation. So this is another guideline. Then effective communication should be done. Then effective control system must be there. Yes, you have delegated the authority, you should not be blind in this case. You have delegated the authority. You have to understand whether that person is doing according to that or not. Right? Just passing the authority is not a role. No, only delegating the authority is not role of manager. He has to have control over it also. Getting? So control is very, very important. You have to check. You have delegated the authority. You have to get a report of each and every activity, whatever, and you have to see everything is going well or not. If something going wrong, you should have control over it. You have to withdraw that delegated authority, right? And then avoid the overlapping while delegating the authority. Person, if he is having already certain task, you should not give another task, so that there will be overlapping. So try to avoid the overlapping. Getting? So this is about the authority delegation. Yes. Anything anybody want to ask related to authority delegation? So whatever discussion I have made, I hope you got the idea. Like what is authority delegation? What is advantages of it? What are the advantages of it? Characteristics of authority delegation, barriers of effective delegation, and then we have seen guidelines for or effective delegation. Have you understood the meaning, its guidelines, characteristics, advantages of anything you want to ask? Okay. If no, we'll proceed to another point, that is a decentralization. Decentralization. What you understood from this particular word? Anybody is knowing about this decentralization? Do you know centralization? Before understanding decentralization, you should know meaning of centralization first. Anybody is knowing? मराठीत आपण डिसेंट्रलायझेशनचा अर्थ असा घेतो, विखुरलेल्या स्वरूपात. विखुरलेल्या स्वरूपात म्हणजे काय? की एखादं काम आहे माझ्याकडचं, तर ते सर्वांच्यात वाटून वाटून द्यायचं, विखुरून द्यायचं सगळ्यांकडे, आणि मग ते बघायचं सर्वजण व्यवस्थित करतायत का. सो थोडासा असा मिनिंग निघतो त्याचा. सो लेट अस डिस्कस वन बाय वन. बिफोर अंडरस्टँडिंग डिसेंट्रलायझेशन, लेट अस डिस्कस अबाउट द सेंट्रलायझेशन फर्स्ट. So in industry, centralization is a systematic and consistent reservation of authority at central point within the organization. What is the meaning of centralization? Systematic and consistent reservation of authority at central point. Means what? Everything is there at that particular authority, around that particular authority. Means तोच व्यक्ती ऑथॉरिटी आहे, आणि त्याच्यानंतरच काय त्याच्या समोरून जे काय त्याच्यामधून जे निघतात अधिकार, ते गोष्टी ज्या काही इन्स्ट्रक्शन्स आहेत त्या रिझर्व्ह आहेत त्या व्यक्तीसाठी. म्हणजे तोच व्यक्ती निर्णय घेऊ शकतो, अधिकारी फक्त तोच आहे. सो सच अ सिस्टमॅटिक अप्रोच इज कॉल्ड ॲज ए centralization. And what is the decentralization? It applies to systematic delegation of authority in the organization. What is the meaning of decentralization? Systematic delegation of authority is nothing but decentralization. Authority देण्याची सिस्टमॅटिक पद्धती म्हणजे डिसेंट्रलायझेशन. कॉम्प्लिकेटेड वाटतं ना जरा थोडस. डिसेंट्रलायझेशन कशाला म्हटलेलं आहे? सिस्टमॅटिक डिलिगेशन ऑफ ऑथॉरिटी इन द ऑर्गनायझेशन इज नथिंग बट डिसेंट्रलायझेशन. Getting? So let us discuss again a new point, like when to decentralize. कधी डिसेंट्रलायझेशन ची गरज आहे? When there is a number of decision made at higher level, so many decisions if are there at a higher level, then decentralization is important. Getting? So why? Because if there are so many decisions at higher level, and as you know, at higher level, very few people are there, right? At higher level, few people, below that, more people, below that, again, more people. But as you go from bottom to top, that people or authority number is reducing, and people are more at the top. And if number of decisions are more, in that case, decentralization is essential. So when to decentralize? When there are greater number of decisions made at higher level, then decentralization must be followed. Then what are the factors deciding decentralization? कशावरून ठरवायचं डिसेंट्रलायझेशन करायचं का नाही? First thing is that size of the organization. If very big organization is there, then decentralization is very important. For larger organization, so many decisions, so many activities, one person at the top cannot handle all these things, right? So that's why if size is larger, then generally decentralization is recommended. If size of organization is very small, no need to decentralize, right? One person sitting at the top, he can take all the decision and everything will go well. Getting? That's why decentralization is important. Then history and age of organization. If organizations are older, then you can understand, like, there are so many experienced people. Experienced people can sit at the top and get the work done, and they will just check everything is going well or not. Then philosophy of top management. If management think like our managers are very confident, they are giving 100% to organization, they are thinking for the organization. If that philosophy is there, then decentralization will happen. But many times, if management of that particular organization is thinking like, or not believing on their manager, those who are decision maker, then definitely they will not opt for the decentralization. So it depends on philosophy, what kind of philosophy they have. Depending on that, decentralization will be decided. The next factor deciding decentralization is ability of lower level management. Is our lower level management is capable, or they have ability? If yes, then decentralization can be decided. Then nature of management function, what kind of function they need to perform, and degree of diversification. So how many diversification means, like how many variety of products you have, how many variety of decisions you need to take, right? How many variety of technologies are there? So any kind of diversification you can say. Getting? So depending on that diversification, depending on that decentralization can be decided. So now what are the advantages of decentralization? So many advantages will be there. First advantage I have mentioned here, it relieves top management of some burden of decision making and forces upper level manager to let go, giving freedom to the lower managers to take independent decision. What is the decentralization benefit? It relieves top management from the burden of decision making, and also it gives freedom to the lower level managers to take the independent decision. This is also benefit, right? The next benefit is there, reduces problems of communication and hence enables top manager to take timely decision on the important issues, thus enhancing the efficiency of the organization. What it reduces? Problems of communication. See, many times lower level people, management cannot approach immediately to top level. So this kind of problem is reduced. Many times it is not necessary to communicate again and again, right? Once it is decentralized, that authority is already delegated. Getting? And one more thing, like that, if authorities that decentralization is happen, then top management will get always more time to think, and due to this, efficiency of the organization is increasing. And then it encourages decision making and assumption of authority. It encourages decision making and assumption of authority. And last advantage is there, it gives managers more freedom and independence in the decision making. In decentralization, if that philosophy of management is there of decentralization, then what is the benefit? Managers will get freedom. They are free to take decision, and individually, independently, they can take the decision in the organization. It is not meaning like that they can take any decision. They are also having certain boundaries. Remember, while decentralization also there is a certain boundaries. Managers cannot exceed that boundaries. They cannot cross that boundaries. They have to think within that boundaries only. Even they can think independently, but within that boundaries only. Getting? So decentralization is nothing असं नाही मोकळे सोडा आणि काय पण करा, not like that. They are accountable for that. If manager take decision, he is accountable for that. He is responsible for that, right? So these are the advantages. Okay. So now one small question, food for your thought. Decentralization and authority delegation look similar, right? In authority delegation and decentralization, what exactly difference is there? Anybody, any guess? Think day before tomorrow we are going to maybe next lecture we are going to see this actual difference. Anything anybody want to ask related to decentralization? Because next lecture we have to see actual difference between them. Because both these things look similar. Yes, anybody want to ask anything related to decentralization? Now what we have seen today? We have seen authority delegation, right? Can somebody brief what is, in short, what is the authority delegation? Can you hear me? My question is that what you understood from authority delegation? In short, put in chat box. Anybody else? No? Are you listening to me? Put your roll number in chat box. Okay, I am audible. Okay, Swami Samarth is telling subdivision is nothing but the departmentation is there. Swami Samarth, I am asking question. What is the meaning of authority delegation? Subdivision is nothing but departmentation. You are giving answer related to departmentation. Authority delegation. After discussion of 1 hour, I hope you understood at least the meaning of authority delegation, because you have to delegate the authority in future. Right? Let it be you will be owner or you will be employee in any of the organization and working as a manager. Then you need to delegate the authority. But you should know meaning of delegation of authority. Or sometime authority will be delegated to you, and sometime you will say like it is a function of manager. Why I should do it? But it is the authority is delegated means you have to listen, you have to follow it. So what exactly meaning is there? What you understood from authority delegation? In short, somebody can put in chat box. Srirang is telling a distribution of tasks to subordinates. Swami Samarth again, divide the work in subcoordinate. Distribution, see, it is not a distribution of task. Like you take this, you take this, you take two, you take three. This is kind of distribution. थोडंसं डिस्ट्रीब्युशन म्हणजे अथॉरिटी काय सगळ्यांनाच डिलिगेट नाही करत, सगळ्यांनाच वाटायची नाही गोष्ट नाही आहे ते सगळ्यांनाच. श्रीरंग बरोबर ना, तुमच्या त्या डिस्ट्रीब्युशनचा अर्थ काय होतो? वाटणेला सर्वांना वाटून देणे, घ्या फुकट आहे. प्रसादासारखं डिस्ट्रीब्युशन नाही, तसं नाही आहे. थोडंसं बरोबर आहे तुम्ही 50%. एनिथिंग ॲडिशनल? Remaining people, only few people are responding. Instead of distribution of a word, instead of that you can use the allocation of duty, you can say instead. And divide the work in the subordinates, subcoordinates असं नाही. थोडंसं अजून इम्प्रूव्ह करून if possible you can put in chat box. I can help once again. Assigning the tasks on temporary basis. Srirang, now you corrected it, right? So authority delegated is not permanent, right? It is on temporary basis, right? Exact word you use, assigning a task on temporary basis. So that can be authority delegation. That task, and here while assigning the task, along with that power is also given. That don't forget to mention there. सांगितले परचेस करा, पण हे टास्क दिलं टेम्पररी बेसिसवर, पण तो करण्याचा अधिकार पण दिला पाहिजे. पैसे देण्याचा नाही का, तो अधिकार पण दिला पाहिजे. बरोबर? म्हणून ते ऑथॉरिटी डिलिगेशन हा शब्द वापरलेला आहे. असाइनिंग द टास्क ऑन टेम्पररी बेसिस अँड पॉवर, असाइनिंग द टास्क अँड पॉवर ऑल्सो ऍट द सेम टाइम, यू कॅन से. पॉवर पण दिली पाहिजे ना, नुसतं काम सांगून त्याचं कोण ऐकणार आहे? अकाउंट डिपार्टमेंट ऐकेल का? नाही ऐकणार. त्याला पॉवर पाहिजे. सांगितलं पाहिजे साहेबांनी हे मला सांगितलंय बघा, रिटर्न मध्ये दिलेलं आहे मेलवरती, मला असं असं काम, हे एवढं एवढं परचेस करा म्हणून सांगितलेलं आहे, मला ते अधिकार दिलेले आहेत, मला हे काम आणि हे अधिकार मिळलेले आहेत, आता मी हे करणार आहे, आणि ऑफिसच्या व्यक्तीने ते ऐकायला पाहिजे. गेटिंग? सो यू आर राईट. गुड. स्वामी समर्थ, गॉट द क्लिअर आयडिया? रिमेनिंग पीपल प्लीज रिस्पॉन्ड समथिंग. So from next lecture onwards, I will take certain names, right? Like Rutvik Tate. Okay, good. Tomorrow we are going to see a difference between, tomorrow or next lecture we are going to see exact difference between decentralization and authority delegation. दोन्ही पण सेमच वाटतात थोडेसे, दोन्ही मध्ये पण काम वाटून दिलेले आहेत, राईट? सो or with authority, with power. बरोबर? So we'll discuss again in detail tomorrow, day after tomorrow maybe. Okay. Anything anybody want to ask? If no, then put it, no roll number in chat box and quit the meeting.